Round number 5, let me start by asking, did you guys watch wrestling when you were growing up?
Yes, I did. And it's funny that you mentioned that today and that this story is on our sheet because I have this app. It's called Time Hop, where you get reminded of previous tweets, posts on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. And I had a tweet a year ago that I found out that my girlfriend watched wrestling growing up and was like very much into watching wrestling. And that just blew me away.
Wait, so you watch wrestling? Bren, did you ever watch wrestling growing up?
I went through a phase. I went through a guest on the show, Bobby Lashley.
Mm-hmm.
He had a solid run there. I remember him spearing like a couple guys, like the Edge maybe.
Chaps, you did too?
You think?
So wait.
Yeah, I did.
All of you were poor? Oh my God. I didn't
Upper
know.
middle class.
WCW makes you poor, not WWE. Come on.
Okay. All right.
I've
Interesting.
never heard that correlation that watching wrestling made you poor, but okay.
Well,
buddy.
WCW people say the WCW kids are poor because it came on the free channels, which I definitely had, and I like WCW. I'm the big-time WCW guy. Yeah. So when this story came across my newswire, I was very upset because Sgt Slaughter was one of the main characters in the 80s and early 90s. He came out there. He would wear the Marine Corps Smokey Bear cover, which you also probably know from like Major Payne and drill instructors in general. Yep. They would wear that. Sgt. Slaughter was in G.I. Joe. He was out there. He was carrying the American flag. I remember very specifically him fighting the Iron Sheik. Like he would go up against the Iron Sheik and it'd be America versus Iran. And you would have those two that were just going at it. So when this story came out that, and hold on to your asses, folks, that Sgt. Slaughter, whose real name is Robert Remus, never actually was even in the Marine Corps.
What?
It blew my mind. Like, he never even served a day in his life. And there is this concept that they have in wrestling called kayfabe. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that correctly.
Kafab?
Where they... Huh?
Kafab?
Whatever that word is. I've only read it, not heard it actually say it out loud. But whenever where you have your wrestling persona and they're not supposed to intertwine with your real life.
Yeah, you're supposed to be in character all times.
Right, which is why some people had an issue whenever Stone Cold Steve Austin started his podcast, because he would talk as like actual Steve Austin and give some of the behind the scenes. They don't like those things intermingled, the real life and then the character. Well, he actually broke character and went on a show called Jim Norton and Sam Roberts on their podcast, and we're going to put in a clip where he breaks down, and they actually talk to him about some of the tours that he supposedly went on in Vietnam. Let's listen to that clip.
You like his part,
Were you in
right?
the Marine Corps? You were in the Marine Corps?
Yes.
Yeah, what years were you in?
I got out in 74, went in 68.
Oh, okay, so you did 6 years. So did you go over to Vietnam?
2 tours of Vietnam, yeah.
2 tours. What did you do over there?
I was basically just infantry, just making sure all the grunts didn't, eight ball on us and keep them all in line.
Were you messed up when you came back? A lot of people were like, it took a while to kind of shake
we
that
never
off.
really talked about it much.
Yeah.
It was something that we weren't acknowledged as, being heroes or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we never talked about it. There's a lot of bad experiences and did a lot of things I normally wouldn't have done or unless I was ordered to do it.
That doesn't sound to me like somebody who is just like, I'm just goofing. This is a guy talking about like post-traumatic stress. He's a guy talking about what he experienced whenever he came back from Vietnam. This is stolen valor in like the purest form of what people mean by it, right?
And so there's definitive proof he never served?
Yeah, the Marine Corps, even in the 1980s, said no, and this guy keeps going back. And I think that what happens is, in a story like this, is that you do get so used to telling a story over and over again that maybe it has infiltrated his mind.
Yeah.
And he really believes that he's this guy now. Like a dead giveaway is one of the quotes. He was like, I was just basically infantry, making sure all the grunts didn't go AWOL, keep them in line. What the fuck MOS is that?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
basically
infantry?
infantry?
Not really,
Your
though.
job is to keep the grunts in line? Are you an MP? Like, that's what you did?
That sounds
That's not
bullshit even to
infantry.
me.
Well, this is a crazy twist that I didn't know, a little bit of WWF history. Slaughter got out of the WWF for a while, but then he wanted to return. So he wrote Vince McMahon saying he was interested in returning, and McMahon said, you can come back, but I need a heel. So you need to be a bad guy this time around instead of a hero. So he needed Slaughter to turn his back on the United States and accept Russia and Iraq.
I remember when this happened.
Yeah.
I was living in NAS Patuxent River, Maryland at the time. My best friends that I've told you about on this show before, Louie and Norby, their dad was a helicopter flight engineer or crew chief. Whenever he did that, he looked a little bit like Sgt. Slaughter. And I remember thinking, this motherfucking treasonous ass bitch.
Yeah, he's wearing the Iraqi uniform. And he's like,
Right.
he liked Iraqi government for their brutality, while the U.S. regime was soft and weak. It's like, what was WWF, man? Those storylines.
It was wild, but that's
so crazy.
kind of scary too, because even the story reports that the FBI recommended that he wear a bulletproof vest to go into the ring, because it was not outside the realm of possibility that someone could try to harm him going this far against America. It's one thing to go against other characters within the WWF, but then to just go against the country, it's a scary proposition.
While you're wearing the Marine Corps uniform and the Smokey Bear cover. My God, Sgt. Slaughter, what are you doing? And then it goes on to say that he's playing a character and things like that. To me, that is a wild leap. Like, I understand, it's more easy for me to understand the idea of acting and being on Saddam Hussein's side during the first Gulf War than it is to continue to lie, like in regular interviews as your normal self, that you went to Vietnam 2 different tours, that you were in for this long, that you were a drill instructor, when the Marine Corps for the last 20 years has said, no, man, like that did not happen. You didn't at all. It really put a dent on my childhood, because Sgt. Slaughter, I would say Sgt. Slaughter is up there for probably the most recognizable Marines of the 80s and 90s. Like him and Arlie Hertman are probably the 2 most recognized Marines in the public eye at the time.
And when he would run out, they'd say 6'4", 298 pounds, hailing from Paris Island, South Carolina. He was actually from Boise, Idaho. So, whatever. But just a wild reading I recommend anybody go read his Wikipedia page, because it's
and I just want to point out that he didn't say that he was from San Diego, California at MCRD. Because the real Marines are born on Paris Island.
True story.
All right, let's move on from Sgt. Slaughter's stolen valor ass. Let's do a little bit of save rounds, alibis. We'll start with you, Benjamin. What do you got?